Welcome to Blind Level Tech. I'm Jonathan Price.
I'm Evan Starnes.
And together, we're bringing you news, tech, and information about blind technologies.
Being blind doesn't mean you have to stop living.
We're going to show you just how possible it is to live the life you want. And living the life is exactly what we want you to do. We want you to get out there. We want you to be not a square, not a
rectangle. Not a rectangle. You almost said it.
We want you to be well-rounded.
Yes.
We don't want squares or rectangles or anything like that. No, we want you to be well-rounded. That's why we do this show, so that you guys can learn all of the things from us wonderfully smart people who have, all of the answers.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we have about all the answers as Wikipedia does.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Heaven.
Yeah, I don't know.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of running on a little bit of adrenaline and coffee, but it's been a good week so far. I'm totally discombobulated from that time change though, for crying out loud.
Dude.
Oh man. I'm wondering how everybody else is doing.
I am struggling. I missed the struggle bus. I'm struggling so bad. I missed the struggle bus.
Oh no.
It's just I'm not even on. No, they're going to have to circle back around. No, I'm going to have to give it another week. Did you have any of that salt that Jennifer has for you?
No, I have not gotten a hit of the salt yet.
Okay.
I sure could use it. I'm half tempted to see if Alex can bring some in because it's a surprising game changer. For those wondering, it's Himalayan salt. Although apparently Celtic salt works as well, and it's got all these minerals that help you stay energized. It does stuff with your adrenal glands and really cool stuff.
Yeah, I've never had any of that, and it's very interesting to me. All the science behind that kind of stuff.
What it does, because it also helps respiratory thing. I don't know. I had too much last Friday. I was wired. It was awesome.
Well, did that wire take you into the weekend?
No, it didn't. But I did go to my buddies and still have a really good weekend and throw my sleeping schedule even more out of whack than it already is.
Sure. But there you go.
Yeah.
Well, did you do anything fun?
I have, yeah. My buddy and I are trying to make some games, like a rhythm game and a virtual Tamagotchi.
Very cool.
Yeah, I bet that's a throwback. And I'm trying to do a little bit of sound design while also learning DAWs. I am a traitor. I have played with Ableton.
You're not a traitor. That's just a horrible DAW.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I betrayed Logic. It is actually is all right. It's not that bad.
No, it's not. And Ableton has its very unique niche when it comes to audio workstations. And so, I mean, it just is what it
a lot of EDM
depends on what you want to do.
A lot of EDM producers use it. And the latest version, they made it accessible. So that's why I got to play with it. That's huge.
Well, there you go. So, well, I hope you're able to use that. And I hope that's kind of cool. We got to take my dog. We just got a dog this last week or weekend, and it was awesome because we got to take him to the park, and he's so well trained, and he listens to everything. He doesn't chew on anything, doesn't pee on anything, it's so nice.
Dude, you got your dream dog. That's awesome.
I did. He's better behaved than my kids. And my kids are pretty well behaved.
And they're trying to, how are they? Yeah. I wonder how they're adapting to him too. Because
strangely enough, they actually behave better because if they get super rambunctious in the house, Logan, the dog, gets really hyped up and amped up. So they've learned to be more calm in the house because they don't want Logan like barking and jumping all over them. And so it's been very interesting. I was like, that's a way better teacher. That's fantastic. So
yeah, absolutely. Family dogs.
It is fun
for a reason.
So for those of you out there, we have been going through a lot of changes. And if you have any questions or you need us to address something, we have a couple of ways for you guys to get in contact with us. Our feedback line, feedback@aftersight.org, or you can give us a call at 720-712-8856. And yesterday I was doing some car shopping and not because I was buying a car, because I'm kind of interested in car technology.
Yeah, it is
And
interesting.
I was looking up some of the technologies that are in self-driving cars. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I don't know how I would feel about trusting self-driving cars, and if I, as a sighted person, would even want to ride in a self-driving car. And then I thought, I need to ask Evan. So when you came into the office this morning, I was like, oh, Evan. So I posed this question to you and for all of our listeners out there, our wonderful people. How would you feel if you had the money and the capabilities to purchase a self-driving car? How much freedom would that give you?
It would be, and my answer now is still going to be very similar to this morning's. It's hard to even conceptualize because we, like, the overwhelming thing that I hear when self-driving cars comes up as a topic, whether it's on, various blindness or disability news programs or other podcasts, or even talking to, some of my fellow blind and low vision friends and all that. The overwhelming thing I hear is we're not there, and we won't be for another few years, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
That being said, that would be better than a game changer in so many ways. I mean, there are so many things that it would take out of the equation. I mean, having to wait for a bus or an Uber, having to plan trips out more, and all of the stuff that we have to do to travel. And I make it, sound super tedious. Like you really do get used to it after, a couple trips.
Sure.
But oh my goodness,
it just becomes something that
you do.
It just becomes something that you're used to, and it's a part of your travel, itinerary.
Yeah.
But to be able to get up and go whenever you wanted without being able to log into Uber, log into Lyft, or whatever rideshare you're using, and going through all that rigmarole would be amazing.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, being able to just pop in my car, punch it, hit the work shortcut or whatever, and then it just pull out of the driveway or the garage and immediately take me to work while, I could be doing work or having my morning coffee or taking a nap and not worrying about annoying some Uber driver. Whew, that would change my life. That would change a lot. Not
to mention the Uber or Lyft drivers seeing you and saying, yeah, no, not today. And then just peacing out.
Especially if I have a guide dog. Yes, that is incredibly, that's a huge issue. And in fact, it's we as the blind and low vision community are really trying to double down and come up with a solution, because a lot of my friends that have guide dogs are being denied Lyft or Uber trips by drivers. And there's a loophole because the driver can just cancel the trip and not even say that they've arrived, and then they don't get penalized for it. So
Right. Yep. Well, it's good that we kind of hit on that, because today we're going to be talking about a lot of rideshare, specifically Uber and Lyft. And there may be some other rideshare services out there, but we want to dive into these specifically because they are the most used. And we are not necessarily promoting or condoning or dissing one or the other or promoting one or the other. We just want to give you the facts. We're going to read a lot of information directly from their websites. And this information comes from them. And we're going to be talking about our own personal experiences with both Uber and Lyft. And so that you guys can understand what it's like and some of the pitfalls, the pros, the cons of choosing an Uber or choosing a Lyft, and kind of what all of that does. So let's start at the beginning. We'll start with Uber. And when it comes to Uber, Evan, how easy is it to get signed up and get your first ride, and kind of walk us through that process?
Goodness, I did that in high school over 5 years ago, but
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been a big fat minute, but it was, from what I remember, it was quite easy. A thing that you do need to keep in mind though. So it's like when you create an account for most other online services nowadays, you need to give them your name, your phone, especially your phone number. That's the other thing, is you do need to have a valid cell phone number and an email address. And I guess the one little concern, and it isn't a big concern, I do believe they do require a little profile pic or whatever on your page. So you do kind of have to take one of those. Mine, I asked a random driver what it was, and it was just a really crummy selfie I'd taken in an old classroom because I was in high school. And, but it, it's fine. It fit the bill. Like they're not looking for anything specific, just a picture of your face. That's it.
Sure.
And, it's pretty easy. I think, I don't believe you can make a profile. Drivers can make a profile about themselves, but I don't think Uber goes that in depth for riders. So all you do is just your name, your phone number, a picture, you didn't need to give them some like payment information, of course.
Yep.
And then, you're pretty much in. And then, it's just a matter pretty much of selecting your destination, what type of Uber you want, and then hitting request ride.
So let's say you're going to go to the mall and you want to ride, or actually let's use work, because we're trying to promote some good, healthy work habits. So you're going to work, and walk me through trying to get a ride to go to work.
Oh boy, there's a lot to it, and it really is all down to your commute and how your job, like how your employer is, like time wise. Like here where I work, we're not super big sticklers about time. Like if you arrive at 9:05 versus 8:55, it's not going to be as much of a deal. But most other jobs, if you're a few minutes late, you get docked pay or what have you. So that's the big thing, is you really, really gotta figure out how long does it take to drive from your house or home to your destination? Like what's your drive time looking like? And then you really want to plan something like, how do we say, give yourself a half-hour window of time. So let's say I wanted to get to work at 9:00. It takes me 15 minutes to get from my apartment to the office. I personally, just to play it safe, would start looking at rides at like 8, and not even requesting them, but just kind of sitting on that screen, because you can see the prices update and in real time. And that's another, just a little consideration, actually. A pretty big consideration, actually.
That's a gigantic consideration.
Is when you leave, time of day, because especially around that time, there's going to be a lot of other people also trying to do the same thing as you. And when there's a surge in rides, there's a surge in prices. And that's huge. So you might get your typical $15 ride might go up to a $50 ride. Now, if you see that, Uber does display a notice that says it's busy. Fares are a lot higher than usual. And that is helpful, because then it kind of gives you a nice little, maybe I should wait a few minutes and see if they go down. And they've also, it wasn't super consistent in the past, but it is consistent now, so I can talk about it. They've also added a notification when prices drop. So what you can do is just put your destination in and then minimize the app or go home and do other things. And you'll even get a little push notification saying like, Uber prices have dropped below $20. Request now. And it's pretty nice. And but now, you really just need to give yourself a leeway.
So I'm going to pause you real quick. Are there any sort of financial help that the community gets when it comes to ride sharing?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked, and we did do an episode a while ago on travel, I believe, like way back in the beginning. But let me remind people, if you haven't heard of and are in the RTD service area, which is just like the vast Denver metropolitan area here, there is a sweet life-changing discount that you should get if you use Lyft or Uber and don't have it already. So RTD has a program that is their Access a Ride program. So that gives you services such as paratransit and free bus and train service. As well as access to the Access on Demand program, and essentially what they'll do is they'll pay up to $25 a trip, and then the rest you pay. And that does not include driver tips. You have to pay those yourself, but that's it's anywhere from, $1 to $10 depending on your trip cost. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the nice thing about that is like the vast majority of like shorter or even medium duration trips that you're going to make are most likely going to be free unless you deal with surge pricing.
Right.
And so, for instance, my commute to work, typically that's about a $12 to $15 Uber standard without any surging. Yeah. And it's free. I don't pay anything. And it will my gosh, when I was an intern here before this program, I think I was spending up to like $200 to $300 a week for Uber and Lyft.
Wow.
Like almost near the amount that it costs to own and maintain a car. And it was, in fact, maybe a little more.
I was going to say that's a little bit more.
This is totally like napkin math here. And yeah, it cut my transit bills from like $300 to maybe $20 a week, if even that. It so completely demolished them. So seriously, so cool. Go check out that program. Go to rtd-denver.org, and you actually should be able to find info about Access a Ride and Access on Demand on the main page of their website, which is very accessible.
Yep. Well, that's really cool. I'm glad that we talked about the pricing and kind of how to get rides, and especially about the pricing structure. But there's one critical issue that comes up with ride share services, and that's service animals. And so I want to read this statement really fast from Uber. This is from their uber.com accessibility website, and I can link this in the description. But this is the service animals policy for riders who are blind or low vision and may be traveling with service animals. Uber's community guidelines, which is hyperlinked, and service animal policy, which is also hyperlinked, clearly require drivers to comply with all applicable laws regarding the transportation of service animals. And Evan, you mentioned at the beginning the beautiful little loophole about riding with service animals. Can you talk a little bit about riding with service animals specifically with Uber?
Yeah, specifically with Uber, because if you're looking at what Jonathan just read, just in a general perspective, from a general perspective, it looks like they've got all their bases covered.
Sounds good to me.
Right, it does. But yes, there is this lovely little loophole. So when a driver receives a ride notification, they can either choose to accept it or deny it. Mm-hmm. Once they accept it, they can cancel up to the point of they can cancel without reason, at least to my knowledge, up to the point of arriving at the rider's destination. Mm-hmm. So in other words, a driver could easily drive to your destination, see that you have a service dog, and then just basically not say that they've arrived and cancel the trip. And now, I'm sure. Let's just say Uber does, because I haven't played with this. Ask you, why did you cancel? I'm sure there's an other column, and if you pick other, I'm sure it's not going to. It very likely doesn't ask for a reason, because let's be honest, if they had, I want to cancel because this rider has a service animal. That could totally. Yeah. That could
discrimination policies galore.
Oh yeah, big time. So, yeah.
Well, that's good, and we have. I know tons of you have stories out there of times where an Uber driver has either not shown up or shown up and dropped you off at different places and locations, and so we really want to make sure that we're shedding both good and positive, or good and negative light to this issue, because you guys need to get around, and you need to get to work. You need to go out to dinner. You need to go hang out with friends and all those wonderful things. And we want you to be part of community. We want you to be a well-rounded individual and not a square.
Yes. So, there's actually one last point I did want to make regarding Uber. And there's some people that are like thrilled about it, some people that really can't stand that they did this. Whatever your opinion is. So Uber has one of their options is Uber Pet, and that basically allow you to travel, take your dog, your cat to the vet, whatever, and travel with your pet. And let's be honest here. Service animals are your companions, but they are not considered pets. Service animals are their own category.
Yep.
But Access on Demand was able to add the Uber Pet option to their voucher, essentially, so it's covered under that $25 discount. So
good.
You can lessen the likelihood of being canceled by a driver, but then it also is more costly to get a ride, and it can also take a little longer as the availability of Uber Pets far outweighs the availability of a regular Uber X.
Right. Now, one thing on that, when you go to book a ride, does it allow you to state whether or not you have a service animal, or does that just come up when the person shows up at your location?
You should be able to add a pickup note in Uber, but it isn't accessible. I haven't found a way to ever. I didn't even see the options don't even appear in the ride request screen. So kind of what you have to do, if you want to tell your driver ahead of time, and a lot of people do this, is that when you get a driver, message them and just say, "Hey, I'm traveling with a guide dog," and me being the snarky person that I am, I usually put in some blurb about how it's illegal to deny service animals because I'm snarky like that.
There you go.
And I want to fight it because it's wrong. And
you and Penn.
Yeah.
For sure.
And usually if a driver sees that, they'll either cancel or usually they'll say, like, "Thank you for letting me know," or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's either that or they see the guide dog when they pull up.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And so thanks for that information on Uber. Let's switch over to Lyft a little bit and talk about their accessibility features and their kind of offerings, if you will. They do have it feels like it's not as comprehensive as Uber's site, the Lyft Accessibility help page. They do have some really good tutorials, however, for using VoiceOver in iOS or using the Google Talkback to create both accounts and how to request rides. So that's kind of a cool thing. They've got quite a few videos about how to do that.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really neat. So check that out. I'll put that link in the description as well. What kind of experience do you have with Lyft, and then kind of comparing the two?
Well, Lyft, creating an account was as easy as Uber's. It's kind of the same song and dance, your name, your number, your email, a picture, and all that. The Lyft app is quite similar to Uber's as far as requesting a ride. You get your where to, and that's literally what it's called, your where to button. And then you get some shortcuts that you can also customize. So like I have a home and a work shortcut, for instance. And what's different actually is just the different types of rides that you can get ultimately. But requesting a ride, it's about the same as Uber, but the difference is that I've honestly found Lyft to be a little bit more accessible, just as far as requesting a ride and that whole experience.
Okay.
When you're waiting for and when you've gotten a driver and, even after the trip is completed, it just seems to be a little nice. It's a much nicer layout, and they take advantage of VoiceOver's actions. And, they properly format different elements of the app correctly so that they work nicely. With VoiceOver and TalkBack. I've tried it on both platforms, and I can speak very positively about both experiences. Now, the big thing that I really want to emphasize is that Lyft does have an option before requesting a ride to add a pickup note.
Yes.
And that is super sweet because, well, first of all, you can tell if somebody's read it or not because it'll even say, "So-and-so has read your pickup note." Second of all, it makes it super easy to put like Like I've put like I'm standing on the corner wearing a Columbia sweatshirt or whatever, but it makes it really easy to say I have a service animal. Now the little caveat with that is that they do give you like I think an 80 character limit.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to keep it very short and sweet. So you can't put any snarky denial facts or anything in there, sadly, but you can at least notify the driver, and you know, it's kind of a nice little peace of mind. So.
Nice. And so on their site, they do have a very similar riders with service animals kind of disclaimer. So let me read that to you. They say all service animals are welcome to ride with Lyft. You do not need to show any proof that your accompanying animal is a service animal. Do you need to report a problem related to a service animal? Call the service animal hotline. And here's the phone number: 1-844-554-1297. And they'll assist you. And so it's great that they put that phone number on their accessibility website for those of you who have a service animal. That way you can get your message to them and get that issue taken care of pretty quickly.
Yep. And let me emphasize here, I don't usually talk about this stuff because it's very touchy and stuff, but it is actually a mandate, a law under the Americans with Disabilities Act that you are not required to tell anybody whether your animal is a service animal or not.
Right.
People are lawfully, they are allowed to ask what duty the service animal is allowed, performs, whether they're a guide dog, an emotional support, whatever. They are allowed to inquire about that, but they are not allowed to ask or request proof that your animal is a service animal.
Yep. And so that's very good. And maybe we'll do an episode on what happens when you are asked to require or asked to give proof. That would be a very interesting
good
episode.
Topic. For sure.
We'll go find a lawyer and bring them on. That'd be a lot of fun.
Now
go ahead.
Let's. Okay. Sorry, I was. While I just derail your train, I will start my own train. Choo choo. And
go for it, my friend.
So, I did want to do a little bit of a comparison between Uber and Lyft because
that's where I was going.
You're oh sweet. Well, I beat you to it.
There you go.
Oh, my gosh. Well, so ultimately, whether if you're thinking about which one to pick, get both. There's nothing wrong with having both. In fact, it's really a matter of which one is more cost effective and which one will get you a driver more quickly. So both platforms, let's do the similarities and then differences here. Both platforms will show the driver's ETA. Well, they basically show an ETA of approximately what you might get when you request a ride. So when you're in the where to screen and you put in your address, you're in the request ride screen where you get to pick your different ride option, whether it be Uber X, Uber XL, Lyft.
Right.
It'll show next to that an ETA, and it'll be it might not necessarily be accurate, but it does help you. For instance, like yesterday, it was just a really bad day for rides, and my ETA was showing like 20 minutes or something like that. Usually, typically, it's around 5 to 10. So, and the other similarity as well is is kind of just the general experience of you hop in the ride, you have an opportunity to rate the driver and tip the driver post ride, and then you're on your merry way. Now the difference is, if you were to ask me which one I like more, they both have advantages over each other. Uber has this thing that I like where you can set up a driver profile screen. And that's really nice because some people do take advantage of that, and they'll put like a little blurb about themselves, what languages they speak even, and their other experiences, why they drive. And it's super nice because, as a talky, chatty person, it gives me some good conversation starters for the driver. And, it kind of makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about, the fact that I'm getting in this person's car. And so I really like that. Lyft, actually, they had that for a while, and it was really cute what they did because they would ask like these fun little questions like, do you like sweet or salty foods? And they really did try to like amp up the conversational starters. And I really liked it. But and the other thing that I've noticed is that Lyft, at least from my experiences, I tend to get a ride a little bit more quickly than Uber.
Okay.
But it's ultimately down to the amount of drivers in the area. What I also like, though, apparently Uber's added this, but it doesn't seem to be an effect on my app. But when you request a Lyft ride, it plays a very unique chime. And that very unique chime is something that, if you use the platform more and more, you'll eventually become used to it. And it's super nice because I can just request a ride and then throw my phone in my pocket and, multitask. And then I hear that sound, and that's kind of like my prompt to pull out my phone and see how quick of a ride I've got and how long I have to wait. Therefore, how much time I have to do other things, before I hop in the ride. And Uber, supposedly they added that, but some people have it. Like my buddy's got it on his phone, and it makes different tones and stuff. But for me, I haven't had that, unfortunately. But you can see both Uber and Lyft. You can see the amount of time before your driver arrives, all the way down to like 0 minutes, pretty much.
Right. Yep.
But Uber's nice because in most cases, it also allows you to see the distance of a driver from you. So mine, it might say like 5 miles, and then it'll keep going down until they're there. And I really like that.
That's awesome. One thing I wanted to mention finally, to make sure that you guys are staying safe, is both apps have a ride kind of track my ride kind of feature. And if you don't want to use that, you can always use the Find My. So if you're going to a friend's house, it's usually a good practice to share with your friends or your family members what time you're going to be somewhere, so that if in fact an Uber driver or a Lyft driver accidentally drops you off at the wrong location, your friends and family can say, oh yeah, they dropped him like a block away at the wrong building or something like that. And so it's just a way to keep yourself safe. And
absolutely,
that's just my little PSA.
No, I do it with my friends too. Like you share your trip status, and it's more granular than Find My because you can see their actual ride and whether they've got.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so it's just a really good thing to make sure you keep your safety high. Yes. And always good.
Well, Jonathan, we're just about ready to wrap this episode up. It's been a doozy, of course. And, it's just about time to close up shop here at Aftersight and about time for dinner. So where are you going for dinner tonight?
Well, I don't know, but, I'm really going to have to make sure it's the sandwich of the week. I think I'm really hungry for... I'm going to go, I don't usually like these, but I'm kind of feeling a meatball sub.
Aha. One of my favorites.
Like I don't usually enjoy meatball subs, but I think I'm kind of like some good marinara, some provolone, some mozzarella.
Especially when it gets crusty on the edges.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that's my sandwich. Really good. We're going to go with sandwich. All right. There we go. What about you?
Well, I do want to shout out one quick thing because I couldn't figure out how to lump it into this week's episode, and it wouldn't really be appropriate to put it in a next week's episode. But my uncle did point out that St. Patrick's Day is this Sunday, and I should do a Reuben sandwich, and I love me. Oh my goodness, I love me a good Reuben sandwich. But I also do kind of want to shout out something. So last week I was at the Capitol building for the Disability Rights Advocacy Day. And let me just say, seeing that many people in one ginormous, beautiful building is, for me, therapeutic, like incredibly therapeutic. But what really stuck out was the lunches. Helping Hands, I don't actually know what they do as an organization. So sorry if anybody from Helping Hands is listening to this episode. I deeply apologize. But my goodness, they did all the catering, and they had a wide variety of sandwiches. And I got their steak sandwich, and it Oh my goodness! It had steak. It had arugula. I think it had mushrooms. And I don't like mushrooms typically, but they were good on this sandwich.
Nice.
And big thing for me is it did not have mayonnaise. I apologize if I
there you go.
made anybody mad, but I can't stand mayonnaise. But it was a yummy sandwich, and it was super healthy. I didn't realize how good arugula would go on a steak sub, but oh my goodness.
I love arugula. Well, this has been such an awesome episode, and thank you for those sandwiches and all the information about Uber and Lyft. And we'll make sure we put that information as well in the show notes. So make sure you check those out kind of toward the bottom of the player. And Evan, any final thoughts when we talk about Uber and Lyft?
Yes. When Jonathan was talking about safety, I'm not sure if you mentioned this already. I was kind of sidetracked in my own head. But besides the ability to send your trip status to your friends and loved ones, they also have an emergency reporting feature where you can, and I'll speak for Lyft because I have messed with it before. You can record video. Well, no, you can't do video. You can record audio of the trip if you feel concerned. And they also have a direct emergency button that will call 911.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So they do have those features. And if you're like me and you get nervous the first time you do stuff like this, I could just speak from my personal experience using Uber and Lyft. You're going to be nervous the first couple times. It's just inevitable. You're going to run into, if you take Uber and Lyft a lot, you're going to have, a mixed bag of great drivers that'll stick with you for the rest of your life, crummy drivers that could tell they're not having a great day, and people that are like, oh my goodness, why are you driving for this platform? And if you do get somebody like that, please, I encourage everybody, don't feel bad. Report them, give them a low rating, because it does help the platform, and, it'll make it so that either they shape up or they're not a driver.
Yep. Accountability is important, and accountability, integrity, those things go a long way, especially in this community. So make your voices heard, stand up for yourselves, be strong, be courageous, make sure you do all the right things, and do it with kindness, do it with grace. You don't have to be mean about it. You can be firm. You can stand up for yourself
with kindness
without having, kill it with kindness, kill it with kindness. Well, it's been a fun week, and I'm going to go enjoy some food tonight. And so make sure that you guys reach out to us if you have any questions or comments and concerns, and that you can email us at feedback@aftersight.org, or you can our phone number is 720-712-8856. And for Evan Starnes and the entire Aftersight family,
don't forget to plug in your devices.